Call to order.
You have something better to do on Monday night? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Time flies. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Graves.
Here.
Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Well, we're going to excuse Joe here in a minute. Mr. York.
Here.
All right, I need a motion and a second to excuse Joe.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, Joe is excused. All right, everybody look at the minutes. Questions from last meeting from the minutes? Sort of an irregularly run meeting, but it was,
I thought it was run very well. I thought she did a really nice. I thought she did a really nice job.
you did a very good job.
Yes,
You
you
did
did.
a very
Did you
nice
watch?
job. Well, I did watch.
Did you watch live?
Yeah. No, I didn't watch live.
Did you think there was going to be a coup?
Yeah, right. But I might not come home.
coup if I wanted to.
You can Google it.
Yeah. All right, I'm assuming we're all good with the minutes. If we are, I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Do I hear who?
Second.
Avia have the second?
No, she had the first, I had the second.
All righty. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Abstain?
Oh, that's right, you weren't
That's
here.
right, I was with my friend Copeland.
Oh, that's right, okay. Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we'll accept those minutes. All right, going through communications, we have Chief Hines' report here up first. Any questions to the chief? Chief, do you have any remarks or comments to make? No, sir. No, sir? All right. Sort of looking through it, I think everything more or less is in order, correct? The village is safe. Oh, I do want to call attention to, though, to the back here. You got some very nice letters here.
Absolutely.
Very nice letters.
And that's just, Mayor, that's just a testament to the officers and the quality of people we have. I can't thank them enough. We're very lucky to have the employees that we have, and they do a great job. I think they're the best of the best. So, and I just got a call today from another individual that actually got a ticket last night from Officer Hayes, and was said, I never had an interaction with the police department and an officer with so much professionalism, and I can't believe I'm calling saying thank you. He's going to send me an email, so I'll copy that for the next report.
Okay, and then we're going to be starting real soon the gift card program.
That's correct. That's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be, we're going to help out several people that are not as fortunate as we are.
Very nice.
On our Christmas gift program. And looking forward to that. It's always a heartwarming thing that we are able to do.
Yeah.
We've been doing it now for 10 years. We started 10 years ago. And yeah, it's very, very rewarding to be able to do that. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Do you want to mention who donates the money?
I'd rather not.
Okay,
do that.
no,
There's
that's-
several, the officers put some money in, and then we got several businesses that have donated money to the program, and one business donated a substantial amount of money to the program. So we'll make sure that we thank them, but I don't want to name them individually and maybe leave somebody out.
That's okay, yeah. I mean, we just want to make sure that we do thank them, and that we really appreciate that kind of generosity around this time of year.
Yes, they'll get a letter from me, and the one individual that gave a substantial amount of money will get a visit,
Yeah.
with something more than a letter.
Okay, that's great. All right, moving on to the Assistant Fire Chief Dan Copeland's report. Do we have any questions regarding that?
You've had a busy year.
Been busy this month.
EMS runs on the rise?
We've been added to a little bit more into Anderson now. They have been using us as solicit a lot more usually run through them. They've asked if we could help with some of that run area down there due to their distance between their buildings to the 22s and that, so.
What, is that because the Newtown house is?
Busy.
Busy?
Yep, so they're just covering theirs, just
Ah.
like when we're out, they'll cover us on our end too with no quorums on our
Yeah.
end. So covering this end and all the way up to the main streets, so.
Okay.
Chief, we were down yesterday on YMCA with a substantial fire down there.
Yes.
Assisting Anderson and other multiple units.
We've had 3 fires since I wrote that, 2 on Broadwell, and then the YMCA fire last night. My yearly report will be done for you in January. Having a lot of fun putting that together and putting some new things. Wanted to bring up to the council and to all, if any of your people, we have the COVID shots if you need that, and we have the boosters as well, okay? So I've got the times, we just did a few of them the other day. I'll put it out in advance this time because now we actually have the stuff, where before they were like, oh, here you go, put it together, so.
So residents will be able to avail themselves of this?
As
or-
of right now, I can do our council and our employees. And then I'm hoping for the 95th, I'm unveiling this right now, is doing a 95th anniversary and asking for the Hamilton County Board of Health to come down and open up their shot tent. And we can do that and schedule that as we go. So if we have events here, we can contact Hamilton County, or I can contact them for you, and they will come down and set up their tents and give out the shots for free.
Okay, because I mean, if we're going to be able to do something like that, and then residents and I assume anyone else, I mean, we need to sort of be able to have a way to get the word out there.
Absolutely. If you
Yeah.
would like me to take charge of that, I'll be more than happy to do it. I just,
Is it premature though at this point to put it out there completely?
it is. It's a call to them. We did an open house at the City of Forest Park a couple weeks ago. That's where I got my booster at. They're open to come to any event that we have. So if we want to put something together, I have no problem contacting them and getting it taken care
Okay, when
of.
we get a little closer, when
Yeah.
you get ready, we should talk, because
Absolutely.
we want to have sort of an organized way of getting the word out.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know how many doses you're getting or what the thing is, but.
We
I
had
mean,
40 of the J&J, we had 23 of the Moderna, and we gave a lot out to the people of our employees and
Oh, great.
employees'
Okay, great.
families
Oh,
here.
okay.
So I can offer that now, and I can offer that to this
Coming up.
body and group coming up. So if you need a booster coming up, just hit me with an email, and I'll set some aside.
Oh, great. Okay.
So they wanted to take care of the family in the
Sure.
council end, but Hamilton County is more than willing to come down, set up a tent.
Set something up.
and
Okay.
do it for
Well, I
us.
think that'd be, yeah, I think that'd be great.
Something neat to look at.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Dan, quick,
The other, we have the Moderna and the Pfizer booster, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, in 2022, we're planning to have the CPR certification class.
Absolutely.
We'll open that up to anybody.
Anybody around.
and any of our residents that want to get CPR certified.
Yep.
All it costs them is $10 for it.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So they can have several people in the household certified if they want. I just think that's really important.
Yeah. And we're going over in January on the 18th to Mary Elders to do a safety speech and talk for
Oh.
our residents
Oh, that'd be
through
nice.
Mary
That'd be
Elders.
What
Great.
day is that then?
The 18th of January.
Thank you.
So we're going to do that. We've been doing their CPR classes for them I've been doing it for the past 7 years. So now we're just going to open it up. So it's gotten a lot easier now that we just push on the chest. Yeah.
a little less controversial.
Yeah, got a lot less.
Have you seen any literature? I mean, I've heard conflicting things about if you were primarily immunized with one vaccine, you should maybe for your booster get the other. I've heard conflicting things. Have you heard anything about that?
I've heard the conflicting, but I was assured by our health director for Hamilton County that whatever you can get is better than nothing.
Okay.
So they try to follow it. They'll ask you. So if Hamilton County comes here and does it, that's why I give you a list of what I have, so you can make that choice yourself. So, and they'll ask you that when you go to the van for Hamilton County to get your booster or that, and they'll ask you and they try to appease. But if it gets down to critical levels,
Yeah.
you just got to get what you can get. So
Right.
that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately. So,
All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mr. Schippenberg's report, the monthly report for November. Looks fairly straightforward.
Can I ask a question? He is
Absolutely.
insulating the pipes at the bell tower, yes?
Yes. In fact, he should be about 90 or so % finished with that. And then we're kind of in the process of getting those bids and quotes together.
Okay.
To, add heat in the bathrooms. And of course, we'll have to add heat in the basement room itself. Even though the pipes will be insulated, you're still gonna have to keep it above freezing down there.
That's why I wasn't sure if they've insulated the pipes, do we need to do both? But
Yeah.
we do need to do both.
You'll
Okay.
have to do both, yeah.
Hey, Bill, I was hoping John would be here. There's that bit of a pothole that's over by the library.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about that, and I mean, that's pretty deep, and it's,
I can talk about that. I made a call to John, he made a call to the waterworks. They said they would get out and fix it, and that's been the week before last. So they didn't come out, and so I made a call to Chris Ertl. Chris made a call to the waterworks, and they said they have a work order on it. But
Great.
Chris thought they would be out within a matter of a few days, but I guess they still haven't, they must be backed up, they still haven't gotten to it.
Do you
But
know-
I've gotten several
sorry.
calls on that, Mr. Barton, from several residents, people outside.
Bless you, Tony.
They want to know when that's going to be fixed, so.
Hey,
It is a
Brett,
beauty.
it's a big
Yeah,
one.
it's a
Do you
beauty.
know when Chris talked to Waterworks? 'Cause Randy and I, when we talked to Kevin, was that last Thursday, Randy?
Yeah.
And he said that he'd reached out to Waterworks.
Who did?
Kevin.
Kevin Smith?
Yes,
Yeah, he probably did that when I called, John.
Okay.
John probably had him call.
Right.
I talked to Chris, well, it's been well over a week ago that I talked to Chris, so.
Okay.
I was looking here to see if I could give you an exact.
that's fine.
But yeah, it's been well over a week ago, so they must be backed up. Chris checked and said there was a work order on it, so
Yeah,
it's
well,
on the
I'm
radar.
sure they've got staffing issues, just like everybody else does.
Yeah. Sherp, by the way, is on vacation, I think, until the 3rd of January, so Kevin's kind of in charge right now, so anybody needs anything, call Kevin directly. All right, moving on to Tax Administrator Deanna's report. Any questions regarding that?
now, it'd just be interesting, I gotta be honest, I'm not sure quite how to read the second page, but I'd be interested to see how it compares to 2019, year-to-date, total year-to-date. Because numbers are looking good year-to-date versus last year, but last year was not a good year, so. So it's just like, okay, how's year-to-date compare versus 2019?
Yeah, I think it's a couple $100,000 up from 19.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Maybe 100,000, not bad. Yeah, we ended the year about 2.4, about 19.
Okay. Thanks, Tony.
So we'll collect another 100,000 in December.
All right, of course, then we have Eli's report. Tony, you have any comments about that?
No, other
No.
than new software is, I think it's gonna help us out a lot. I think we're gonna end up all liking it, right, Johnny? No, Allison's not well with it.
I start live in January, so ask me then.
No, these reports are a little different from what you're used to, so if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to walk you through it.
I like them
I'm still
better.
learning it myself, so. And Rob, we'll do a little analysis that, once everything's closed at the end of the year, and compare, actual to budget.
Yeah, just total,
By
not-
departments, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, it looks like we've got the minutes from the pool commission meeting back in November, I guess it is. Joe's kind of supplied us with this. We're going to have some additional comments about, I guess we got the resolution for the rates on the pool and other things that kind of come up. The only comment that I'm going to make about it down at the bottom, John and I have been going back and forth getting those quotes together for the leak repair on a couple of the pipes down there. And the first report that I got was really bad, really, it was a disaster. And so I'm now in the process of trying to get at least one for sure, maybe 2 additional quotes. Because we're talking about a repair of just one of the pipes, and it's, like $50,000 or something. So that has to be taken into consideration, and then I think considering, other options down there. But until I get the second bid or third bid, that's about all I can say about it at this point.
So do you think for Tony's permanent improvement process, we should use the 50,000 as a placeholder for now at least, to, have something set aside in there for that?
Well, I guess you can look at it this way. I mean, clearly something is gonna have to be done down there.
Yep.
I'm trying to explore other options other than this pipe liner method that they're using, because that's a very expensive method. There are other options, including simply abandoning the pipe and then maybe going with a new filtration system. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, because, these are just ideas.
Yeah, but we need to do something.
We need to
is that
do
right?
something,
So we should
yes.
put a placeholder in the permanent improvement fund, and so I'm just thinking out loud here, but if the 50,000 is worst-case scenario, maybe we'd use that as a placeholder for now, and while you continue to investigate
Yeah.
the other options.
Yeah.
But would that be worst-case scenario if we end up, having to replace or abandon it?
I don't know yet, because,
mean, 'cause-
I've got some, just with loose talk with Rob, not Rob Bartlett.
Shamrock Rob.
Shamrock Rob, as to what a new filtration system would cost, and it might be in that ballpark. But, that was like last year, or the year before, and of course, prices down, everything else are up. I hate to sort of say this, because, a third option or fourth option, could be to simply, fix the leak, you just buy the water. You don't like the sound of that, but you're talking about $5,000 in extra water as opposed to 50,000 for.
Yeah, but do we worry about what's going
Yes.
on?
Yeah, we don't know where
We
it's
don't,
going.
we don't know where the water's going, that's an issue, Although we have been down underneath there, we know that it's not coming out under the part of the cement surrounding the larger pool, so
So that's the good news.
that's the good news.
But we don't know where it is, so that's the
We
bad
don't know
news.
where it is. At this point, I'm just saying, there's a lot of options, a lot of things to discuss down there, but we are looking at, potentially some serious money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should use something in the permanent
Yeah.
improvement fund as a placeholder.
Is there
for
any
now.
place marks now?
I don't know,
pool?
I don't know if anything's been submitted, Tony, for that yet, or?
No, I don't think John's gotten anything to me on that yet.
You mean?
See, I thought we had. I thought we'd already had 50,000. I thought.
Well, I don't know
or
what
80, I thought it was-
2022.
Yeah, for 2022, right.
I don't know what officially got submitted to
Alright.
Tony. We have that little project list thing, yeah. but
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but
not-
that's
that's
not
not
the same
officially
thing.
No, but I thought that was the earlier meeting we had.
Was that for
We
like
were
a grant
projecting.
thing? Was that for a grant?
Yeah, that other thing, yeah, that was the other exercise we're going through.
Yeah.
Okay.
What Joni want?
So if John's not gonna be back until January 3rd, and Tony, you'd set a cutoff of when was it for people?
I said by the end of the year.
Well, maybe Kevin's talked to John about it, and I'll ask Kevin if he knows anything about it.
I somehow doubt that he has, but
I
we
know,
can
but-
inquire, we can ask.
You never know.
Yeah. If we're looking for a placeholder number and you just want to use that number,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah,
I think that's
we
the
should
same-
do something in there.
I think that's a
for
safe
now.
way to go.
Okay, all right, moving on. It's time to bring back up the sale of our second ambulance. Chief we've been running an ad in several places. Chief, you want to outline this for us just very briefly? Or Dan? So-
Copeland, helps,
Okay.
go through the Chiefs Association.
Okay.
Put it out through the Chiefs Association for Mr. Bartlett. We didn't get anything back on that, back through that.
Okay.
Comps are looking really good within our favor. There was another municipality that helped another municipality out and sold one for $15,000 just yesterday. If you need those names, I'll be more than happy to give them to you after the meeting. But with the supply chain issue that we're having, even our oxygen right now, we're finding hard to get oxygen. So that's kind of where we're at. We have something down there that I believe can bring value back into the budget here that we're not using. And it comes down to the equipment, the daily costs, the insurance, the fuel cards, I think we could save some money on that point. And I think it's a good way to look at things and move things ahead and see where we're at. I have no plan. It's just, we had an offer come to us again. We put the process out, we followed the rules, we did what we were asked, got some comps, put it out, went to word of mouth to outside of the county as well too, because I didn't know how to get a hold of Claremont County Chiefs Association. I haven't got with Rick yet to figure that out. But we put it out there, and I think a lot of people know that the village that's interested in it really could use the help.
So you're convinced that this represents a fair and reasonable bid for this ambulance?
Yes.
Yes.
Per the comps, I've searched all the way from Oregon to New York, and then I went south even, and right now, just the sheer ability to even get an oil filter right now has really pushed this market more into our favor, especially because we have something that is costing us money that I don't really think needs to be costing us money. So it's a little bit different play from where we were a few years ago to where we are now, and have to look at the realization that, yeah, we can cut back in a few areas and give back. So that's kind of where we're at. So
Can we do this by show of hands?
Yeah. That we can sell
No.
That
That was
Well, that was
for the fire truck.
for the fire truck.
That was a pumper.
Yeah, and any other, that would take care of any other.
Or was it specifically for the truck?
Well, I thought it was municipality to municipality.
That we talked about before, or this one here.
Well,
Yeah, my
let's take a look at it.
as the chief is to sell that to the Lock for $31,500.
31.5.
Well, can we just have a show of hands that everybody is in agreement that we proceed with you preparing a resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay. We all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye, aye,
All right, so then you'll prepare, whatever. All right, so then.
I will make a
We're all in
contact.
agreement here, it looks like we'll.
I just want to take you guys and tell you guys, you took a guy off the street and got thrown into quite the situation, and we handled it all well, and we moved on. I'm learning as this process goes, so if there's something I can be doing for you folks to move ahead and different ideas that we got, I'm open to it. And I'm here to help you guys and whatever you guys need, okay? All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. All right, we have the email from Mr. Stelzer regarding where we are with the Murray Path. He sort of, I know you all got a copy of this, he sort of gave us a summary of the latest costs, you know, what has been reimbursed, what's not been reimbursed yet, and I think there's on the back of something, there was a the open task list of the few remaining things that need to be done. I think one of the more interesting things is that he, of course, did just bring us a check, well, I guess it was like 4 weeks ago now, for the $52,000. Basically, that represents some of the unreimbursed aspects from the ODNR grant, which brings us up. And so you can kind of run down the list here as to about where we are. The only thing that seems, I wish you were here, because the only thing that's a teeny bit confusing is, you know, I guess depending on what remains to be reimbursed, and then, of course, there is still some of the private donation money that's available, what the actual amount of money would be that the village has actually got into this project. He seems to have two numbers down here at the bottom. And, you know, I guess we won't really know that figure until the final, you know, reimbursements from the grant come through, and then depending upon how much of the private money still remains to offset those differences in there. Although, I mean, from my reading of this, you know, it's looking fairly encouraging. You know, like the village, you know, ultimately would end up with very little money. You know, we're gonna practically get this entire project and bike path for very little expense to the village.
Yeah. So is Chris, who sends the stuff to ODNR for the reimbursement?
Chris does.
Chris? Okay.
Yeah,
Because that seems to be the biggest, one of the biggest outstanding items, as Joe lists here, like
Yeah.
potentially up to 33,000 of
Right.
reimbursements that we don't know about.
That we don't know about yet, yeah. And then, of course, I mean, there's a few things, if you look on the task list, things to be completed yet. Most of these are minor things, and some of these basically are already sort of in the works, I should say. In fact, some of these things have been done, in fact. The signage, the bollards, all of that kind of stuff, these drains. The only thing that we can't do is the street painting, obviously the watering and stuff like that for that turf. So by and large, the project, is very, very close to, calling it done. So I guess if you have any questions, you can email good old Joe and he'll,
Okay.
It's pretty exciting, because.
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It's just funny when you think back about it. It took almost exactly 4 years,
Uh-huh.
from Troy coming on,
Oh,
getting that
right,
grant.
right.
To here we are completion. So
Well, actually, it goes back further than that, because, I mean, this, the whole life of this thing started in my committee even before Troy came on. And, we had all the meetings and the big drawings and everything all spread out, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
but like just get him
We've
taking
been,
that
yeah, it really
initiative,
picked up
that-
some momentum then, yeah.
that's
So it's
kinda
pretty
crazy.
exciting,
Yeah.
pretty exciting stuff. All right, that covers that. And then, there's the final email from Joe, of course, is the increase in the fees for the pool this upcoming year. And I think you've got a chart there sort of outlining, outlining what they're, what they're gonna be. It looks like approximately about a $50 across the board kind of an increase. Well, I guess some of them are only $20, but the basic
Proportionally.
membership, I think, is gonna go from, say, $400 to $450, roughly, for a family membership. Would be that, and if you have any comments on it, I guess you can make them now, but, I mean, we have a resolution on this coming up to basically
Yeah.
put this into place.
So is now a good time? Because I forwarded
Yes.
everyone to emails to Ed, when Ed, I don't,
Yes.
oh, wow, that was efficient.
Oh, you wanted to talk about the expanding
The non-resident.
opening up the
All
membership?
things.
Yeah, yeah. So, because, do you want to go ahead and?
Well, no, it's fine, we can have the discussion. Fortunately, we have Mr. Lauren Halad with us here.
Oh, I didn't see him sneak
You
in.
sneaked in, you should have seen it. Like
Pool
a
Commission
snake.
has been having on and off discussions regarding, to what degree, what it would look like opening up that membership. I mean, could you give us a brief fill-in on this, Lauren?
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Lauren.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be back in the chambers. Lauren Halad, 3602 Center Street. Yeah, so serving on the pool commission, we've certainly had those conversations over the last couple of years. When the last time recently when the pool commission discussed it internally, our recommendation moving for this next year is to keep it resident only. When we did a survey at the end of not the end of 2021, but the end of 2020, we surveyed all the pool members and residents about opening it up. And it was a slight majority of people who took that were not in favor of opening it up. And so the concern of the commission currently is that, if over 50%, if there's a 50% delta there of opening it up, that, we just, of the current existing customer base to the pool, that would be sort of a divisive thing currently. But we know that, the opening up of revenue and the needed added revenue is something to think about, but to do that cautiously and to have a wider community conversation about that. Because once you open it up, it's really hard then to shut that valve off and then close it back up to village residents. And so for this year, with the changes in the management of the pool, the pool management company and all of that, needing to get that pool management up to speed, handling registrations and all of that internally with the village while we don't have our own internal pool manager in Jordan anymore. It's going to require more of the pool commission and others on village staff to handle just registration in general, let alone a marketing campaign if it were ever to be opened up to wider communities and sort of doing that. So it was tabled from the pool commission for this year.
Yeah, because one of the things that I asked Ed about too, because I understand not just opening up the floodgates type of thing, is maybe just capping it at 50 or something
Right.
like that of non-residential memberships to test the waters, both from, to your point, how do we handle it, and what's the uptake by people outside the village or not, you know?
Right.
So it's more like a test market type of thing versus a full-blown, oh, let's just open it up and see what happens type of.
Right. I mean, I think at the end of the day, when the pool commission discussed it, we certainly have robust opinions about it. There are people on the commission that see it from different points of view, but we don't have a consensus as a commission for that recommendation to open it up. And so the recommendation from the commission to council is to keep it as it's historically been for this next season. And we don't want to rush dialogue and conversation on that this year as we're ramping other things up. So if that's an imperative or prerogative of the council or the village at large, then we need to be told that as a pool commission to do more study, to involve residents in that study. One of the concerns from some of the pool commission members is that who are in the business sphere is that you can often chase a new market of customers and then lose your existing customer market. And so needing to look at all of that, as well as parking down there. You know, parking down at the pool is already an issue. People park well up into the street. There's only so many spots in the lot. And if we're opening it up to the wider public, even a limited amount of spots on those busy days, you're going to have people parking in front of people's residences down the bluff and down Mariemont Avenue. And so needing to just look at all of that. You know, I'm not sure legally that, you know, what to do there. A lot of people have said, can you open it up to just the school district? And from my understanding, I would caution against that specifically, because if you either, I think, like the tennis association, it's opened up to non-resident or resident.
Well, there's actually,
Yeah.
there's actually a bit on that where you need to have a sponsor who is a
Right.
member
Right.
already type of thing, so.
Because
So it's
it
not a
doesn't-
wide open thing.
So tying it to a school district, I've heard a lot of people mention that. Could it be tied just to the school district? We don't receive the pool doesn't receive school district taxes. So tying it to the school district might not be a way forward in the future. If it was a pool of the school district, that makes a lot of sense. But it's a municipal pool. And so if we're opening it up, I think the simplest way in the future is resident, non-resident. You could certainly do needing a sponsorship from a current member or a village resident. We had talked about a different structure of fees because our current residents pay taxes that help support the pool and supplement the pool. But needing to do that just cautiously moving forward. So ultimately, those are decisions of the village council to make about that. But the recommendation of the commission is to keep it Mariemont resident only for this next year.
Well, I don't speak for all the council here, but I'm sure we're going to be quite interested in basically the pool commission's, opinion on this. I mean, you guys are really got your finger on the pulse. And let me ask you this, because you mentioned about, one of those pool meetings, is there a survey or something you all were going to try to do to see what the residents of the village, would be in favor of something like this? I mean,
yeah, we did a survey again at the end of the 2020 season. We didn't do a survey at the end of this season because we have so many of a lot of the survey. That was one question on the survey 2 years ago. A lot of the other questions were about the quality of the product of the pool.
Right.
Cleanliness, friendliness, staff, amenities, hours, all of that. With our big change this year in management that was necessitated by Jordan's resignation, we felt that a lot of those same questions were going to be addressed and changed. We have a sort of a fundamental shift in management this year that sending out a survey just, for that one question seemed like, So we decided against a survey this year, but we hope to do annual surveys of members.
Yeah, you might,
Yeah.
At the end of next year, you might want to ask them if they like the new management shift down there. I mean, that could be one of the questions.
Sure.
You wouldn't want to have it just be a single question,
Right.
on a survey. Yeah.
So your previous survey was residents at large, or was it previous members?
It was open to residents of
At large.
Mariemont, and you could select if you were a member of the pool that year or in previous years, or if you've never been a member.
Was it
If
an
you had
email?
never been a member.
Was it an
then-
email? How'd you reach out?
Yeah, we sent it out.
Was it an email?
We sent out an email. We posted it on social media as well, trying to get, we didn't collect names and email addresses with that. It was an anonymous survey. it was one data point in one point of time. But I think if a shift like that is to be entertained, to open it up broader, I would recommend, just from community development work, of really engaging the community in that conversation, and not having it be something that just a committee or just
Right.
council discusses.
Agreed.
And not, my personal opinion here, I don't speak for the whole commission, is that at the end of the day, that conversation, I think, is one based off, it's a values conversation as well as it is a financial conversation. And so I think the village needing to be clear, is this decision being made from a fiscal point of view, valid? Is it fiscal only? Or is this truly an amenity? Is it a value-based conversation? You can argue both sides of that. Opening
To
it
me,
up
that's
to
what we
the,
have to decide.
to the wider community, or is it about, this is an amenity for people who live in Mariemont, who pay Mariemont taxes, where you can go down and meet your neighbors, and it's not an open club like the sports mall where anyone can pay to join, and you can mingle with broader people. And so that's a fundamental question that I think needs to be in that conversation as well.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Lauren, but I also think you got to provide the context, the right context, right? And so, Randy, maybe this is one of the things with the town crier stuff you've talked about. You know, you tried the first one, but maybe, but again, I think the context is, like you're saying, what's the history? What's the fiscal situation look like?
Right.
You know, it has improved, and we're doing some other things. And then the context.
I don't know. The fiscal has not improved.
So
It has improved.
it has improved.
Well, how much did we lose this year running the pool?
Operations of the pool, it was in
The
net-
whole thing.
well,
How much did it cost us, the village, to run a pool?
I don't have all the numbers in front of me right now, but I can sparse this out. Operationally, now I understand total cost of the pool maintenance and repairs and capital improvements.
Correct.
But operations of the pool, it was net black. It made money operationally. So
That's not
the
the
amount
numbers I
of
see.
the amount of payroll, the amount of water, the amount of operating the pool ran positive. When you factor in repairs, maintenance, and permanent improvements, which were allocated, and again, that's also a fundamental value-based conversation. Do we view the pool for the village as an amenity like we do the ball fields, which is an amenity for the village of Mariemont, like the park system, like this beautiful building we're in and these council chambers, as an amenity for which the village also has some responsibility to help maintain those systems. When it was
I
built,
agree with that.
when it was built in the, so we couldn't raise the prices high enough to cover all of the permanent improvements and needed water leaks. We couldn't open up membership wide enough to realistically get as many members to cover all of those expenses this year. So moving forward, you know, my role on the pool commission and a patron of the pool is to advocate for dollars to be budgeted appropriately, permanent improvement dollars, other dollars, to ensure that we provide this amenity for village residents or other folks potentially in the future to really enjoy this great gem, you know, that's in our community.
Yeah. So I think that the model, I think that has worked well so far, at least, is the tennis has opened up. It's similar to this situation. It has opened itself up to non-members who are sponsored by a current member. They charge more for the non-residents, and now it is covering its maintenance costs also, with the patchwork, the patching that has to be done on the surfaces. So, you know, it's not only break even from an operational, but also from an ongoing maintenance standpoint of just the regular maintenance, not the big maintenance type thing.
Until the court has to be replaced.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well,
Last
just
thing
like you know,
Yeah.
like the pool. I mean, you know, there's big maintenance and there's normal going maintenance.
Last thing I'll say about it, one of the principles that has guided the pool commission's work over the last 2 years specifically, as we've kind of rallied around the pool and got this great group of people, residents, to serve on this commission and provide some new life, is to really assess the long-term trends of the pool. And when you look at the data that Mr. Stelzer and others have compiled over the years, you know, the pool, all the way back into the 1990s, had been slowly atrophying in members, atrophying water. That's another issue with the leak. But we had been atrophying. It had been a product and amenity in decline. So we understood with this pool commission that we want to turn that around. We want a pool here for 50 more years. We want kids, generations to come, to learn how to swim, be on swim team, all the good stuff with it. And so we've taken our work slowly these last couple of years to try to fix the product before we launch and expand possibly membership or other things. And so where the commission also came down, that influenced our decision not to recommend that this year, is we still feel like we have work to do in the operations of the pool, in the product of the pool, to really get it to where we want it to be with operational excellence, with hours, with all of those things, the improvements we've made, so that we're not just chasing customers, but not fixing the product. Because I think it's the product that has needed work, deferred and neglected maintenance over decades.
Yeah, and you guys have done a great job with the product. I mean, the fencing and everything else you guys have done
Yeah.
has been fantastic. So I really appreciate all the work the Pool Commission's done. And I hear you and I agree with you in the sense of broader engagement, and that's why I was pointing back to Randy again, is we try this town crier thing, to say, how can we reach out broadly, because that gets delivered to every doorstep, and ask the question with the right context of saying, okay, what if it was opened up, here's the background, and it's improved, the product is improved, we're getting closer to break even, at least on an operating level, we'd like to get, be able to pay for some of the ongoing maintenance as well on an ongoing, on a regular basis. So that said, what if, would you be willing, if we opened it on a limited basis to people who are only sponsored by current members of the pool or something like that? So just give them the whole context, and instead of just saying, would you be okay if we open it up to non-residents,
This is kind of going back a few steps, but I haven't been able to get my question to you before we kind of moved on. When you said in that survey that you did, people did indicate whether they were a member or a non-member.
Yeah, for the current season or the previous season.
Yeah, and
Have you
so
ever
did
been a
you see
member?
did you see
Yeah.
a difference between members versus non-members about the willingness to accept or expand?
I would have to go back, Dr. Lewis, to the survey and splice that data,
Okay.
but the result was a pretty stark contrast. Terry Donovan on the commission, who does these sorts of things for companies and restaurants all the time, said, you don't want to make a fundamental shift when you're over 50% not opening it up. That you can run a great risk there. What I would recommend, speaking for the commission, we don't recommend this year. So that, we don't recommend this year. I personally do not think it would be wise to recommend to make that shift this year, given the other work and the important onboarding of a pool management company.
I would agree, just because
Yeah,
changing too many variables at
That's
once.
exactly right. It's
However,
just too much.
what I would say, a rule that I always try to operate by in my own work and in my own leadership is, you guys have the hard job of deciding things for the village. And with that, you always get people who like or don't like your decisions.
Oh, sure.
That will always be true. People might not like a decision, but never give them a reason to attack the process by which you came to that decision. So with that in mind, what I would recommend, if council wants the village to entertain this, make it an imperative or a directive to Park and Rec Committee, then involves the Pool Commission to study this. We can hold town hall forums. We can invite residents to be a part of a process, a dialogue. We can look at different structures and models, sponsorship, limited spots, fee structures. We can engage the community. We can look at all of the pros and the cons potentially to doing that. And we can do that over the course of this season of the pool when people are thinking about the pool. We can engage current members. We can have membership nights to talk about that down at the pool. We can do that here in council chambers. But I would recommend a process so that whatever is decided, by the powers here, nobody can argue that there was a process to make a fundamental shift and change in the pool. So that would be my recommendation. And would be happy to help Mandy, our pool commission chair, kind of lead that process and be a part of it. I think it's an important dialogue and an important conversation.
Sure.
Yeah,
Agree.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Well said.
you've
Thank
done a
you.
great job, Lauren.
Full steam ahead.
Right.
Well, having your guys' support and the support of the village for the pool matters a whole lot to to my family personally, my mother-in-law, Susie Vianello, grew up there. It was her dad who surveyed the land with a sickle and said, we can put a pool in, and
Wow.
got it started and got it done. So, I love that pool, and thanks to all of you for supporting it.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren. All right, permission to address council. Any takers back there? Shaking your heads?
Wait, before we go to that, because actually there's another part. There was that list of activities that you guys had submitted as well. So,
Oh, well, I was gonna kind of talk with.
I could
Yeah.
speak, I could
You
speak,
mean?
All right, I'm
Yes,
breaking
exactly.
my
I
candy
could
cane.
speak to that as well, the activities for evenings. And so with a pool management company, managing the pool, we have to give well in advance the nights and the days that we need guards there outside of the normal scope of what the contract says. And so getting those dates before council well in advance helps us get them to the management company so that they can staff and work that into everything.
yeah, but I guess you guys, what I was referring to is you guys identified a list of a bunch of activities, 16 of them here that still need to be good because we're in a different structure now. Somebody else needs to do this. Do you have any recommendations? Do you guys have recommendations about some? I mean, again, updating the forms online.
Oh,
getting
that list.
The
Okay,
membership
sorry.
forms
I thought
for
you
the
were
town
speaking about
crier.
something else.
No. So, because these are helpful. This is helpful to know. It's like, oh wow,
Right.
because I think you said it
Mandy,
earlier.
yeah.
Some of the administration may have to do some stuff too. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Mandy and I helped to kind of compile that list, and
So do you have
Yeah,
any, it would help if you have some recommendations. I mean, because Bill, you weren't here last time, but we said since Jordan used to report to you, we thought the mayor should have oversight for the contract and everything else. And so,
Right.
I mean, there's some of these things, it seems like either you or somebody within, you would help make sure that some of it gets done. I don't know, though, if there's certain things here that you think the pool commission should be involved with or not.
yeah, I would need to look at the list. Again, a Park and Rec committee meeting where we could hammer some of that out or kind of
Park and
decide
Rec.
some of those.
Leslie.
Generally speaking, not to push it all onto, village administration, or I know, our staff are stretched thin and it's not a huge staff in the village, but generally speaking, council or a commission should be in operations very minimally. And so we're happy to help with getting the word out about registration, about handing out flyers. We're happy to put yard signs. I made those personally the last couple of years and put them out in Worcester Pike. We're happy to do a lot of those things. But when it comes to operations and processing money, processing membership forms,
Paying
updating,
invoices,
that
yeah.
really should be operational hours of employees of the village or with the pool management company. If they,
What I would anticipate, I mean, because this is a lengthy list, and some of these things are gonna be, gonna have to be worked out here as, we move into the season. I would, probably it would be a Parks and Rec committee meeting.
It's health and rec.
And-
It's not Leslie Nope, for heaven's sake.
All right. Oh, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
good correction.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna
Mrs.
correct
Rankin.
you, but I will correct
Yeah.
him.
That, at that meeting, I mean, obviously, some of these details are gonna have to be gone over and worked out.
We're also more than willing to do volunteer days and get village residents again with opening and closing.
Yeah.
Not to be responsible for the whole operation, but to help clean things up and get chairs out, and that's a great way to engage the community.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
All right. Well, I think that's how we'll handle it in Health and Rec.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I didn't have any takers on permission to address council. Is that it? I had a bunch of head shakes back there. At least you're awake. All right, so somewhat out of order here a little bit, we now have to do this ordinance for the appropriations for current expenses and things. Tony, you want to give us just a quick?
Yeah, so this is something we do every year, so just a little, let me back up a little bit. So at the beginning of the year, the first meeting of the year, we always do an appropriations that will allow us to spend the money. So we have to get council's approval, first of all, to appropriate, and then we can spend. So there's a lot of things that happen during the year that come up that we didn't appropriate for. We've spent more in some line items than we did in others. So this is to realign the appropriations so that we're allowed to spend the money. So we're doing it a little bit backwards where we've already spent the money, but now we're officially appropriating it. With the new software, that's gonna change things because it won't let you spend the money if you don't have it properly appropriated. So this first exhibit is to basically realign the line items from the old CMI accounts that we used when we did the original appropriation to the new line items in the new system in UAN. So there was just a lot of movement into different line items. Plus, we also had to appropriate the encumbrances from 2020 in UAN, which we typically did not do. And this year was even worse because with Allison being new, we didn't close out a lot of the old POs that should have been closed. So they remained open at the end of the year. So those are carryover encumbrances that we need to appropriate this year in the new system, plus all the appropriations that we did the first meeting of the year. So that's Exhibit A. So I know it looks like a lot of money, but it's not expense-wise a lot of money, that we're not really spending a whole lot more than what we originally appropriated. And then Exhibit B is actual items that we were over on. For example, like the first item, the police salary. So we budgeted, was it $1,071,000, and we missed it by $7,500. So those are items that we were actually over on. So we got Exhibit A attached, Exhibit B, and I'm gonna do an analysis once the year's closed on what our actual expenditures were versus our original budget. And I think it's gonna come out that it's not a whole lot different.
Because, yeah, I'm assuming this adds up to 315, but 315,000. But I'm assuming there's other places we're gonna come in under probably the net against that.
That's correct. And also want to point out that one of the large items was this transfer out on the second page of Exhibit B. This was to the ambulance fund, EMS. So we always kind of deplete that fund. So at the end of the year, it didn't have any money. But now we have to have money in there at the beginning of the year because we can't spend what we don't have. So that is a permanent transfer that we're doing. So that inflated this 315. So if you take that out, you're really down to like 200,000. So that will get us, so we can actually pay out of the EMS fund until we get our money from the real estate taxes in April. So it's things like that and moving money from CARES Act to other funds. So it's a lot of moving around, a lot of moving pieces. But like I said, at the end of the day, we're really not appropriating as much as what it looks like here. So our actual expenses were not much off from what we originally budgeted.
Tony, on the police salary, where you show that it's over $7,500 or whatever, that's not taking into consideration the money that come back in.
That's correct.
From like the OBI task force, which reimburses the overtime, the details that go out, like road construction details, stuff like that. So taking that into consideration, we're quite a bit under the salary budget.
Yeah.
My numbers show.
Yeah, and then Rob and I talked about this. We met with Rich Ford, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about having an appropriations budget versus an actual budget. And I don't want to get to that now, but hopefully next year with what we do this year, what we're going to be doing at the beginning of next year, we won't have to do this at the end of the year. We won't have all these supplementals that we're going to have to do. So that's our goal anyway with the new software, to have a little wiggle room so we don't have to come back to council and ask for more money. Okay.
This was helpful to see it this way. I don't recall seeing this broken out before, but
Yeah, with the software, new software, this is how things are gonna look now. So.
just out of curiosity, what's housing?
That's the building department.
Okay.
So yes, we changed some descriptions and line items around. And also for next year, we're gonna budget by department. So in the past, it's always by individual line item within each department. So now if, let's say a department has a $100,000 budget, and it's 50 for this line item, 25 for this, 25 for that. If we're over on the $50,000 item, but we're under on the 25, we can just reallocate those, and we won't have to come back and do a supplemental. So,
Oh, wow, that should make it kind of ease things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we all got any other questions? Okay, can we have the first reading then tonight?
All right, an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Mariemont, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021.
All right, you've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for a second and third reading, please.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, second reading, an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Mariemont, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
All right, this is the second reading. We've had discussion. Actually, I was supposed to have a roll call in there on that last motion. Let's quickly get in there, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
Okay, so we just had the second reading. We've already kind of had the discussions, no more discussions. May we have the third reading then, please?
Okay. An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Mariemont, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
All right, that was the third reading. I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Excuse me, Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right. I guess we'll be able to pay some bills tonight then. Is that correct?
That's right.
Hope so.
All right. All right, well, motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Any question regarding the bills?
Rob moved, was there a second?
Oh, did you already move? I'm sorry.
You said,
Yeah.
and that's why I said, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, thanks.
Guys are jumping the gun here. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, looks like we'll pay the bills.
Looks like that Minutemen staffing thing worked out.
Yeah. In my mind, it was well worth it. They did a great job this year.
Yeah, they really did.
All right, well, we've got a couple committee reports in here, of course. Starting,
Tony?
we're going to start with the rules and law. Randy, your reports?
Yeah, so Randy kind of combined all of these items.
Not all of them.
Four of his line items here into one report. Thank you for doing that, Randy. So
I'm
this
here
is
for
for
you,
the rules
brother.
and laws, ordinance revisions and updates. The Rules and Laws Committee met on Friday, December 17th, 2021 at 9:00 a.m. Present at the meeting were Rules and Law Committee members Randy York, Chair, Marcy Lewis, Co-Chair, Rob Bartlett, Member, and Ron Holloway, Zoning Officer. The committee reviewed recommendations for the revisions and updates of 4 ordinances. Ordinance 151.091, temporary portable storage. Ordinance 151.105, special offenses. Ordinance 151.115, solar heating, cooling, and hot water systems. Ordinance 152, rental and dwelling units. Ordinance 151.091, temporary portable storage, was updated to include guidelines for the placement, maintenance requirements, temporary placement restrictions, and removal of self-contained portable toilets. These are temporary toilet guidelines detailed in Ordinance 151.060, Resident A District regulations, but these guidelines are inadequate and not applicable to all residential districts in the village. Ordinance was created to provide guidelines for the private use of portable toilets, the public use for community events, the temporary use for construction and rehabilitation project, and the use during interruptions in sewer service. Ordinance 151.105, special fences, was updated to add an ordinance for the installation of invisible fences. Ordinance was created to require a permit for the installation of invisible fences and to provide guidelines for the placement of invisible fences. Ordinance 151.115, solar heating, cooling, and hot water systems. Ordinance 151, solar energy systems, was created. The ordinance 151.115 was deemed to be inadequate, and rather than update this ordinance, a new ordinance was created. Ordinance 151.115 will be removed in its entirety and replaced with Ordinance 151, solar energy systems. Ordinance 152, rental and dwelling units, review of ordinance to updating timing of permit validity, inspection and permit response times, and applicable fees and other fees. The maintenance code reference will still need to be updated. The village body for overall administration is updated to building department, and the body to review appeals was updated from the Board of Building and Appeals to the Planning Commission. Proposed changes / additions / deletions will be reviewed by the village solicitor, respectively submitted and signed by Randy York and
Nobody.
Chair.
Okay, you've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second? All right, any discussion? I mean, there's a lot of information in this, a lot of time was spent on this. I think Randy did a very good job organizing, putting this together. I believe, Ed, you have essentially reviewed the changes to be made, and but I mean, you're good with everything as proposed. Randy,
Well, I'm going to back up.
Okay.
First off, this started by, these were simply on the list. So I started, and Rob, Aviat, and I thank you all, you're very helpful. Why are these on here? What do we need to do? And I will tell you, as we approached this, we didn't want to infringe on rights, but we wanted to protect rights of other people. So that was really our driving force. And I got to tell you, Rob, who's not here, was just terrific. Rod. He was indispensable. in
Mr.
getting all this
Holloway.
done. Mr. Holloway. So my guess is we do need to make sure, because you had a meeting about the fees, because in the ordinance, we do list the fee amounts, and we used your recommendations. So I guess we need to confirm that your recommendations were passed or approved, because those are in there.
Back tonight.
All right.
Right. It's in
So that's
here.
coming up next. So that was the one thing we needed to do. And I'll tell you, the process was, we looked online at a number of ordinances from a number of villages and municipalities, and really distilled those down to the 2 or 3 things we thought we needed, and kind of wrote those in language that would be applicable to the village. We changed, it had, there's some language in there that was outdated. It's the planning commission now that reviews these things. It's the building department, not the building commissioner. So some things like that were updated, and I think they're, again, I appreciate everyone's work, and I think they're good ordinances.
yeah, I think they're good. I think you did a lot of work. I think you did a good job on it. Any other questions about it? I mean, it's more or less straightforward. I mean, it's changing words and some language, trying to make things.
Clarifying
Yeah,
a number of
make things
things, yes.
more understandable. All right then, we all good? On roll call, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we'll accept that report.
Then Ed, you're gonna work on the legislation? Okay, and then can these come off?
Gone.
Wow. Somebody's excited.
You did it.
I know, I get it.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have 2 in the Finance Committee. I guess we're going to do the expenses over 5,000 first.
Yes,
Okay.
from the Finance Committee regarding process for village spending in excess of $5,000. Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 7th, 2021, at 3:00 p.m. to discuss the requirement in the village's code book that any spending in excess of $5,000 requires council approval. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee members Rob Arlett, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Seltzer, Assistant Administrator Allison Urig, and Mayor Bill Brown. Section 31.030 in Mariemont's code book states, the mayor shall have the ability to enter into contracts not in excess of $5,000 and to incur expenditures for the benefit of the village for amounts not to exceed $5,000 without the approval of council. Any expenditures in excess of said amount shall require legislative approval. This report is to document the pre-approval process before goods are ordered or services contracted. All expenditures are still subject to a final approval by council when council is asked to okay paying the bills. Ms. Urig has done an excellent job creating and distributing a form to the department heads for any non-emergency spending that exceeds $5,000. To build on that, council's expectation is that if competitive pricing is available, then at least 2 bids or prices should be obtained before presenting the proposed spending in writing to council. If there is a possibility that some of the costs may vary, then a not-to-exceed number can be approved. If it looks like the approval spending is going to be exceeded, then the department head will need to ask council for a new spending limit. Of note, this process excludes any regular ongoing items such as payroll, employee benefits, utility bills, waste collection, lawn care, village solicitor bills, income tax refunds, and loan payments. For large capital projects, council will determine if the project costs will be approved in total or if specific bids will need to be approved for different sections of the project. Also, if an item exceeds $5,000 and was included in the original budget appropriation, then only a vote is required of council to approve the spending. An example would be the projects that are approved as part of the Permanent Improvement Fund, or if we are planning to purchase trees or pay for tree removal services, then these should be called out in the original budget. Per our village solicitor, if an item comes forward that was not included and called out in the original appropriation and it exceeds $5,000, then a resolution is required to approve the spending. An example of this would be new mulching services that the village contracted for partway through 2021. Also, if any spending is going to cause the original appropriation in a department to be exceeded, then an ordinance will be required to change the appropriation amount for the department. The Finance Committee recommends that council approve the above process and that the village solicitor also draw up any necessary additions to section 31.030 to allow the mayor to approve any emergency spending that may exceed $5,000, or an emergency is defined as something necessary to preserve the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the village. Respectively submitted, signed by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, and Kelly Rankin.
All right, you've heard the report. I need a motion and a second to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion here? I have a couple of comments, Rob. I know that you went back and forth. I've got these emails from Eli. I know she had some serious questions about this. I'm assuming you more or less have those
Yeah,
issues.
Eli and Allison and Ed, we did, pass this back and forth so everyone had a chance to provide their input to
I
it.
didn't see anything from Eli, but I certainly did you, and I reviewed this when Rob sent it to me. I think it looks good, Bill.
Okay.
Do you have questions about it?
Well, no, not particular.
Did Eli raise some concerns we should be aware of?
No, well, no. I think her, from what I was reading, I mean, I think she was basically she wasn't getting the gist of what was being proposed here. So I know there was some back and forth. I mean, these emails date back to October, I believe.
Right, and that's why it's taken so long
Yeah,
to
to come
bring
forward.
this forward, is because we went through and, again, first Allison, I wanted to get her input, and then after I got her okay, then I went to Ed and got his input, his okay, so.
Yeah, other than Allison's this new form that she's gonna have for expenditures.
She's already used it,
Yeah, she's.
right, Joni? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Allison devised that form, is that correct?
She did, yeah, she did. I mean, other than that, though, I mean, it's almost kind of a restatement of what we
Well, but it's the
currently do.
pre-approval process, getting the okay, helping to clarify when is okay from council required or not, and then if it is required, what's the process for that pre-approval?
yeah.
Because otherwise, if somebody sends something now on the form that Allison has created, there's a spot that says, when was this approved by council? And ask for a specific date on that form now, whereas that did not exist before. So people could just ask for the spending and, so this helps to say what's required to get that pre-approval, that then they can put that on the form.
Well, more information, the better, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much, a lot of it goes without saying, but I think what we're trying to do is just make it a little bit more specific. If we get audited, we know how we arrived at a certain expense and why we arrived at a certain expense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
because
what's
now,
the-
and with the new software, if she doesn't have enough money in there, not appropriated, it won't let her cut a check for specific line items. So this will give her that approval to up the appropriation.
Yeah.
There's other stuff.
Okay. So she could just up the appropriation then? I mean, if a proposal came through?
She's your permission.
In CMI,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in CMI, you could overspend the budget, you never had to
No,
stop it.
that's what I
till-
meant. I'm asking about the new
The
software.
UAN.
Yeah,
And UAN.
and
the new
UAN.
software.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So how would you handle that if it's an emergency?
Then that's why, well, it's not even in the language today, so we want to add that so that Bill, if there is an emergency, Bill can go ahead and act on it and just approve it on the form and say, it's an emergency.
Even though it exceeds $5,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
because right now, he doesn't have that ability, and I think we should give you that ability in an emergency to be able to approve over 5,000.
Well, if it were an emergency, I mean, the mayor certainly at this point in time, I think if it's an
Yeah.
emergency and there's health and safety is at issue.
Right.
I'd have to authorize the spending, I would think.
And so that's what we're trying to do, though, is add language now to our code book that
Yeah.
gives you that right. Right now, it doesn't exist, and you should have that. So that's what that last recommendation is.
Yeah, okay,
That Ed
okay.
add the language so that
Yeah.
you can do that.
And I will do that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Any other points here about this? We good?
Looks great.
Okay. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, well, we'll accept that.
And that can be removed?
Yes.
Okay, Tony, now on this next one here, I've got
There's two
one.
of the same, I think, right?
Which one are we doing? I've got one dated December the 20th, and we're doing the December the 20th one, I think, right?
Well, the one Rob gave me that signed is November 15th.
Oh, okay, so we're doing that one.
It's fine. I may have changed the date on the top of it.
Okay.
So it.
Because I think
it's
they're
the
about.
same.
I think they're the same.
They're the same.
Other than the
Pretty darn
date, they read
close.
the same, yeah, or very, very close, yeah.
Okay.
May I ask a question? On this report, where we've got this chart with these numbers, does Tony need to read all those numbers, or are we able to just?
In the past, you've just, you can just read the bottom at the net, right? You can just read the
All
net.
right, we'll just do the gain loss. All right.
Thank
Ready?
you,
All right,
yes.
from Finance Committee regarding the Building Department restructuring savings update. In April 2021, the Finance Committee recommended to restructure the Building Department and to implement a new fee structure. The basis for this recommendations were, number one, from 2018 to 2020, expenses exceeded revenue for the Building Department by $40,700 per year on average. Number two, in comparing Mariemont versus other neighboring communities, Mariemont was the only community that had both a salaried employee and an hourly paid person in their building department. Terrace Park, Fairfax, and Newtown all had just an hourly paid person. The recommendation from the Finance Committee was to eliminate the salaried building department position and go to an hourly paid position only, and to also begin to use XPEX to handle all building reviews that require specialized skills. And moving to XPEX, the Finance Committee also recommended updating the fee structure such that XPEX costs would be estimated on the front end and used as the fees, so their costs would essentially be passed through to the resident. Council approved the recommendation, and in April, the salaried position was eliminated. Below is a table which shows the revenue and expense for the building department for the first 3 months of the year, as well as the revenue expense from April through October, and from 2018 through 2020. And as was suggested, we'll just do the gain or loss for 2021. The first 3 months, lost $7,778, April through October, a gain of $9,332. And for 2020, the loss was $41,106. 2019, it was $23,911. 2018, it was $57,121, for a 3-year average loss of $40,713. As can be seen, the building department has now gone from losing money to covering its own cost. To be clear, the village has had the benefit of Bob Van Stone doing the work of zoning officer for free for the first few months. However, Mr. Stone's reports indicated that he totaled 74.8 hours in volunteered hours in September and 56.1 hours in October, using a pay rate of $20 per hour, which is the rate we will pay our permanent zoning officer. The above cost for April through October would increase by just $2,618, still leaving a positive balance of over $6,700 for the building department over that period. Respectively submitted and signed by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, and Kelly Rankin.
Okay, you've heard the report, a motion and a second to accept.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Discussion? I believe, I mean, these numbers look good, and they're definitely heading in the right direction. That April to October big bump that we got there, though, I believe we had an extraordinarily large individual building permit that came in for like,
Yes.
correct, $5,000. So,
For the new construction.
yeah, I'm just saying, you need to, that was kind of a one, yeah, it was a very big project, and that's kind of a one-time kind of a thing, so
Right.
that needs to be taken into consideration here.
Yes.
But clearly, you know, I mean, we're on the road.
Moving in the
here
right
to-
direction,
yeah, we're
no
moving
doubt.
in the right direction, yeah.
Well, and I'd like to clarify too, because it's going to come later, Public Works is now, have a different proposal about the fees to cover XPEX, so
yeah.
that has been changed, and that's going to be
Right,
coming up
right,
now.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the basic idea, as we talked about almost from the get-go, was, you know, sort of a, you know, a pass-through on the fee structure here.
I mean, we don't
and-
want to make it look like we're running a profit
No,
center.
no, 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 no,
by
no,
any measure.
no, we're not there.
No, but I think there's also, ideally, we talked about this in Public Works, there's ideally the zoning officer would be able to do some other things like, the zoning code needs to be updated, right, Randy? You've talked about that. That would require a lot of work also. And that's not going to be billable work, you can't recover that.
Right.
And then also reviewing the exterior of buildings in a historic district and trying to get those more back in compliance. So,
There's a lot of overhead.
Yeah, we definitely want to get this back in compliance. We haven't quite got the details of that, fee
Right.
structure of how that's going to work and so on.
well,
and
that's
so
the
forth.
internal part.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm talking about the external also,
yeah. We're definitely heading,
so.
Going in the right direction.
we're going
So I
the right
think
direction.
Kelly's proposal will help us get further down that path as well.
Okay, any other comments? We all good? More or less, we're good? All right, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we'll accept that report.
And that may come off the agenda.
Yes.
And now I believe we're over to strategic planning for the subcommittee of the finance.
From the Finance Subcommittee.
Yes.
Regarding strategic planning session. The Finance Subcommittee met on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021, at 3:00 p.m. to discuss who to recommend lead a strategic planning session for Mariemont. Present at the meeting were Finance Subcommittee members Rob Bartlett, Kelly Rankin, and Randy York, Mayor Bill Brown, and Council Member Marcy Lewis. Two different organizations submitted proposals, Ohio Plan and McBride, Dale, and Clarion. Ohio Plan's proposals to have one 6-hour session on a Saturday where they will lead a group through a traditional SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis. Coming out of the session, they will develop a summary report of the discussion, conclusions, and recommendations. Total cost will be $2,850. Ohio Plan provided examples of their recent work for Goshen and Deer Park. McBride, Dale, and Clarion's proposal was to help the village develop a planning roadmap that identifies planning and zoning needs. The first phase of this process, which would entail a lot of data gathering and interviews, would cost up to $10,000. McBride, Dale, and Clarion provided some examples of the work. Finished product could range from $75,000 to $125,000. The committee recommends that the village contract with Ohio Plan for this work. The cost is more reasonable, and the committee also believes that since this will be the first time the village has developed a strategic plan, it needs more of a working document that can evolve over time versus a glossy finished product. Ohio Plan is currently available to do a planning session on either March 5th or 12th. They recommend that the working group be no larger than 15 people. The committee recommends we target for 12 people. The time commitment would be to participate in a 2-hour prep meeting, the 6-hour Saturday session, and then a 2-hour post meeting to review and discuss the final report. The committee also believes it is important that we have targeted representation in this working group to ensure a variety of demographics are included. Attached is an initial cut at the different groups we recommend be on the working group. Once the report is ready, the committee recommends it be made available to all residents for additional input. Once the strategic plan is finalized, specific action steps should be developed, and also the plan should be incorporated into the goals of each village department. If council is in agreement with the recommendation to go with Ohio Plan, the mayor will sign the proposal for services with Ohio Plan, and planning will begin. Respectively submitted by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, and Kelly Rankin.
Randy, did you sign that one too?
Randy?
I'll sign it.
Oh, right there.
Okay, you've heard the report. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Accept the report.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
That's exciting.
Yeah, this is,
And that's a pretty good price, too.
this is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, you listed
No, I
the
will have
cost
them by
in
the
here as
end
the
of the-
$28.50.
end of class.
Are we, sometimes, how we word that and not to exceed? I mean,
That's the price he gave us.
This
Yeah,
is
that's-
a, this is
Yeah,
a firm price?
That's the
It's-
price he gave us.
He gave a proposal that had a specific price in it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd be happy to forward you the email in case you don't have it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, if it comes back and, they miscalculated hours or something, and then now suddenly it's, $3,800 or something,
Well, I mean,
where are
it's
we then?
2 hours, 6 hours, that's what the pricing was for, and that's what the proposal is, so I don't, unless somebody said, can we have 4 more hours, please?
Okay,
I think if we do the pre-work we've talked about to
Right.
get ready, I think we should be fine.
well, I guess if there are gonna be any adjustments, we'll know that midstream, and we can,
We'll have to come back and get approval from
yeah, we
council.
can do whatever we.
Well, actually, you could approve it because it's less than 5,000.
Oh, God, I got forms to fill out. Okay. And we already have some folks, I know you
No,
kind
no,
of
we don't,
prepared.
I don't think we want to get to names right now. Let's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
get the
I'm just
process
saying, but I
going.
mean in terms of, trying to get a broad range of, a
I like how you
demographic
set that
range
up.
within the village, it looks pretty good.
It's Randy. Randy got
Oh,
that.
I like how you set that up. let's go.
Yeah, okay. We all good?
So we voting on it?
Okay, yeah. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis? Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we're in.
Did you want to leave that on?
Yeah, let's leave it on, because we gotta finish
We
the
gotta
work
fill
and
it out,
everything
right?
else, so.
Okay.
But Kelly, you'll contact him then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And lock a date in?
Lock a date. Locked and loaded.
Perfect.
And spring break is not till the end of March, so we don't have to worry about that as far as folks.
No, trying to
Not
get,
that
yeah,
far.
okay. Looks like we've got the building department fees.
Yeah, for the Public Works and Services Committee, regarding building permit fee schedule. The Public Works and Services Committee met on December 14, 2021 at 4:30 PM to discuss revisions to the current building permit fee schedule. In attendance were the committee chairperson Kelly Rankin, committee member Avia Graves, committee member Rob Bartlett, zoning administrator Rod Holloway, Bob Van Stone, and Mayor Brown. The village has entered into an agreement with Expex to inspect and issue building permits on behalf of the village and has hired a part-time zoning administrator, Bob Van Stone, who is filling in on a volunteer basis as the building administrator since the retirement of Don Keys in the spring, analyzed the current fees and increased costs of running the department and provided the committee with a revised fee schedule. The committee recommends accepting the revised schedule and has requested the village solicitor to provide the appropriate legislation. Respectively submitted and signed by Kelly Rankin, Chairman, Avia Graves, and Rob Bartlett.
All right, you've heard the report. Motion and a second to accept, please.
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Well, I must say, this has got the look of a good committee report. You see how nice it's short to the point.
Tony and I talked beforehand.
really like that.
I promised
I
him.
wish more could be.
Suck up.
He's just gotten wordier as
Yeah, I
the
just
years
got
go
more.
on.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right,
I have a question,
sure,
about the tree removal.
yes.
I'm speaking now as a representative of our tree board. It says it was 0 before. When did we eliminate the $25 fee that we used to have to get it, to take out a tree?
2020, last year. I mean, yeah. I think part of the reason for that, I think basically was we essentially, want to encourage people to get, you still have to get the permit. Sorry. But we didn't want to throw that $25 fee on there and have people,
So
sort
they
of.
still have to get a permit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they still have to
okay.
get a permit. And they would still, if it's a large,
Heritage tree.
Tree, they would have to explain and have an arborist and so on and so forth.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it's just meant as an encouragement to get more people to do the permits.
And let us know what they're doing
Right.
with the trees.
Well, I mean, yeah, they get the permit, they have to let us know
Right.
what they're doing with the tree. Yeah.
I just want to say, I mentioned it in the committee meeting, but Bob and Rod did a fantastic job, very thoughtful in their approach,
Yep.
so.
I'm nominating Mr. Van Stone for Citizen of the Year.
Maybe we ought to give him a pay raise.
Maybe we're gonna give you 100% pay raise.
0 plus 0 is still 0. 0 times 2 is still 0.
And a hug.
No, you did good work, Bob. You
Really,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
to be-
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is still working. He's in the office before I get there.
It's the company.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still things that he's sorting through and sort of finishing out, so.
Closing out permits.
Yeah.
2013 through 2020.
Yeah. So, great work. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we will
And this can come off. No, this can
come off.
Did you-
I just wanted to hear you ask me twice.
Getting late. All right, and miscellaneous, the leaf season will run through December the 23rd, which is coming up here, what is that, Thursday? Is that the last day? Thursday? So rake all your leaves, not in the street, please. Right to the edge of your yard. And this year, we've really had a fairly good leaf
Oh,
pickup
yeah.
season.
Well
Oh, yeah,
done.
I've
You know,
heard
well
nothing
done.
but
They didn't, they
compliments.
came down more evenly, and we
Yeah.
were really able to keep up with it this year.
Yep.
So what do we attribute that leaf cooperation to?
Well, I would attribute it to the mayor really getting in there and riding around in trucks, making sure that, I think you could attribute
Funny,
it, like I said.
didn't see you once out there unless
Yeah.
you really look like Jeremy all of a sudden.
That's right, all right. Nevertheless, the leaf collection will end on Thursday, December the 23rd. Village offices will be closed Friday, December the 24th, and Friday, December the 31st, in observance of Christmas and New Year's Day. The permanent, this is gonna be fun. The permanent improvement meeting will be Monday, January the 10th at 5:30. That'll be, an hour before our regularly scheduled, council meeting, first of the year. And, we will have our new members on then, and it'll be exciting. We're gonna miss our old members. I'm gonna say a few words at the end. So, I have one other thing here, miscellaneous, and this is just sort of a heads up for council. I got a disturbing phone call a couple of days back regarding, because we've been talking about the roof replacement on the old church, which, by the way, I mean, that's not a village money thing. However, the roof on the boathouse, which is a very similar roof, it's a stone roof. The stones are from Cotswold, England, and so on and so forth. And that roof, I believe, or I was informed, was replaced like 20 years ago, and it's supposed to be a 100-year roof. Well, it is shedding stones, it is beginning to leak, and I am now going to engage in getting the one company that came out and did the work to find out, what can be done. Can it be patched, repaired? Something has to be done because it's gonna be leaking. So just sort of an FYI, we're talking about a stone roof here and repairing a stone roof. I have no feel at the moment, well, I do have a feel for it at the moment. It's gonna be expensive.
There was some kind of a warranty?
Yeah,
Well,
because that was part of the 75th anniversary.
That's
So
gonna be one of the big
that's 25
questions.
years ago,
Yeah.
and that should last.
It should last. That's right.
Finding the appropriate paperwork that's.
Yeah.
MPF did it, we could maybe have.
Well, it's just a heads up. I'm just,
Yep.
it's just a little information, kind of a thing. All right, well, that's all I've got for miscellaneous. So moving on to resolutions. Tony?
To accept bid of Cincinnati Pool Management and to authorize contract and to declare emergency. Did we already have our first reading of this?
Okay, hold on a minute here. I've lost my place. Is this the,
This is the 3 readings. We're doing those
three
emergency.
readings? Okay. Well, okay, we've
We
had the first reading. Okay, I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules to allow for the second and third reading.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading?
To accept bid of Cincinnati Pool Management and to authorize contract and to declare emergency.
Okay, is there any discussion? We good? May we have the third reading?
To accept bid of Cincinnati Pool Management and to authorize contract and to declare emergency.
I need a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right.
Next one.
Yeah,
All right. To appoint Betsy Bybee as a member of the Pool Commission for the calendar years 2022 and 2023.
okay, that's the first reading. We'll have the next reading, first part of the first meeting of the first of the year.
All right, next one, to reappoint John Bentley as a member of the Architectural Review Board for the calendar years of 2022 and 2023.
Okay, that's the first reading. Second reading next time.
Next one, resolution to update swimming pool fees and to declare emergency.
All right, you've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for the second and third readings.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis. Aye. Wake up, guys. We're almost there. Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading, please?
A resolution to update swimming pool fees and to declare emergency.
Okay, any discussion? I think we've had a lengthy
Tom.
discussion.
Just my
Any other?
one question is,
Sure.
I mean, why does it have to be done on emergency?
Because they would like to be able to get their literature and the information, printed and out, that there is gonna be a fee increase. And if we didn't do it on emergency, it would be March or something before they could basically proceed with this. Am I correct, Lauren? Okay. Anything else? All right, maybe we have third reading, please.
Resolution to update swimming pool fees and to declare emergency.
All right, I need a motion, a second to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Mr. Bartlett?
Second,
Did you second?
second, aye.
Second, aye.
Well, you know, I don't mean to rush you here. But we got, okay, Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second,
Second, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right. Ordinance.
All right, the first one is still tabled, so the second one, to amend section 79, Schedule 1 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances to include no parking on West Street between Thorndike and Madisonville Road.
Yeah, okay, this is second reading. Now, I know both Avia and I have gotten some correspondence regarding this from some of the residents from the condominiums. I have responded back to them. Have you?
And no, but I have actually had some calls on the other side of it, too.
Yes, well, when I'm, okay, yes, I've got correspondence in both directions.
Yeah.
Some yay, some nay for this. My personal feeling on this is, as I responded back to them, essentially is that this is somewhat of a safety issue. That's a narrow street over there. It is a bottleneck. And, I mean, you've heard me say this, I drive through there every single day.
Yeah.
And every single day, there's a bottleneck of some kind. Chief, do you have an opinion on this? You know what we're talking about on West Street?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's a bottleneck, sure.
I almost saw an accident today, because there was a big loading truck that was just at the end of it, so,
Was
sorry. I
it,
didn't
or
mean-
was it the mayor trying to run my husband off the road?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, I
I
had to
didn't
wait for
interrupt-
that little
interrupt you, Chief.
pipsqueak toy car of his to come through before I could get through. No, I'm not making comment on his car.
So-
The point is, do we
Thanks, Fred Flintstone.
do we need further study or discussion of this? I think that the decision that we've made is a good one, and we should stand on it.
I agree. I respect, it was a handful, of people that, I respect their opinion on the matter, but I think that this is the right course.
They have a
of
couple of options. One, of course, is to park around on Thorndike, which, by the way, there is another entrance into that building off of Thorndike, so it's not as though the walk is greatly increased. And relative to their guest parking places in the garage spaces down underneath that they say the maintenance guys, routinely occupy, we'll put a sign up saying, no, let the maintenance guys park out on the street, for God's sakes. They're young, they're healthy, and they're strong, and they can carry their stuff into the building.
Yeah,
Am I
there is,
wrong?
yeah, and there is plenty of parking on the other side.
There is plenty of parking on the other side. Okay. Well, that was the second reading. We'll have the third reading next time. I'll no longer be mayor then, because those old folks will run me out of here, but nevertheless.
You can always find refuge at 6902 Murray Ave.
Avenue, you think? Okay. Yes, last one there, Tony, please.
All right. Ordinance amending section 150.16 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency regarding building code fees.
Okay, we've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, may we have the second reading, please?
Ordinance amending section 150.16 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
Any discussion? I think we've kind of discussed this. Any
I-
other comments?
I would just ask the same question as before, is there really a strong need to do it on emergency?
The need is not as strong, say, as the pool probably. However, we would like to be able to get these rates into effect
January 1.
sooner rather than later.
And I get that, and I support it, and I think all the work that was done is right, but I just, leaving it would give more opportunity if residents wanted to be able to come in and comment versus passing it on emergency.
Well, that is a good point. But this has been an ongoing discussion. There have been a lot of committee meetings here. There has been opportunity for residents to voice, opinions about this.
This isn't new.
Yeah, it isn't new. personally say sooner rather than later. If there's anybody else object?
No, I understand. I always am just a fan of not passing things on emergency if we don't have to, so that's why I ask.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been here, I'm with you, and I think we passed way too many things on an emergency basis. However, with this one, we kind of set a precedent back then by passing so much on an emergency. But I think this one is probably reasonable, only because we just hired X back there taking over that job for us. And it's good that they get in the rhythm and that our residents are in the same rhythm that we are with X
Yeah.
back. So
Yeah.
it's probably okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe in the future, we have to look at this stuff a little bit more carefully.
Yeah, yeah. But this, like I said, this has been in the ongoing works here for quite a time. All right, maybe we have a third reading.
Ordinance amending section 150.16 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll adopt that. And I believe that brings us to the end of the meeting. Now, however, I'm not adjourning just yet. Don't.
No, I think there's a chance to clean up, because just Joni was helping to clean up some of the stuff.
Oh,
that's
on
in
the- on the
So
list?
like Health and Rec, Joe's not here, but I think
Okay.
we've done 4 of the things that are in his group already.
his
Like-
group.
Like, what is the future study on the bell tower restrooms? How is that different? Is that different from what you
Well,
guys
it's
were talking
still
about?
not resolved.
Still,
Is it what?
It's still not resolved.
So it should stay on this?
Yeah.
Okay,
As far as-
No, it's not resolved, but we are getting very close to a
okay,
conclusion
okay,
on
so it should
that.
stay,
When
that's
it's
fine.
done.
So the age requirement policy for the pool, I thought we did that. We
Yeah.
agreed to that. Because we did that before the pool opened. For
Did we do
people-
that? Did we do it? Lauren, I think we did
Yeah,
do
we
that.
did that so that,
Yeah,
before the
just get
pool
it,
opened,
okay.
about people could go in.
Yeah, all right, take it
I think
off.
we also did the consumption at the certain pool events for 2021. We did that one.
That's done.
And so that one's
I'll do
gone.
that.
We should
Okay.
take that off this list. And then options for pool management for 2022 season. We've done that. We just voted on that.
We just voted on that.
So I think we should take that off the list as well.
Okay.
I'm just trying to clean some of this
Yeah,
stuff
clean some
up.
of this stuff up. I think that's a
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah.
And while we're at it, I think I do need to add a few things to the finance committee. So, to Ed's point about like salary, so that we can avoid doing it on an emergency basis, I want to go ahead and just put it into committee at least for now, for finance, to be able to start talking about the salary in, because in order not to have an emergency, the finance committee needs to make a committee report to council by the second meeting in January. To try and avoid, because it needs to go into effect middle of April.
Yeah, middle of April, yeah.
So I want to put that into there.
Okay.
I also,
It's April 1, isn't it? Isn't it April 1, John?
For the,
I don't think there's a hard number.
the other thing I want to make sure it doesn't get lost, Joe did some work on Mariemont Foundation, and I think, I'd like to propose putting that into the finance committee as well, to
I'm sorry,
continue
what
to
was
try and, there's a Mariemont Foundation that Joe started to do work on, and he shared it with all the council before. And I think we ought to try and continue
does
to
this
do
have to
that.
do with the 501(c)(3)?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, the
Okay,
fundraising.
I'm
Right.
kind of taking that over.
Oh, you have it?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost.
No,
In
no.
the transition, since Joe's gone after
I've-
tonight.
Yeah, I've had some discussions with some friendly attorneys who are willing to donate some
Good.
time to us.
Okay, so it's got your name next to it.
Okay.
Okay, and then the
Yeah.
other thing, the one last thing for the finance committee is this having a consistent performance evaluation process. I think that should go into the finance committee. So we can work on that while we're working on the salary stuff as well. That's it for my end.
All right. Well, I would like to take this opportunity, Joe's not here, but he may be listening, he may hear this later. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about Avia and Joe, and that, they're gonna be going off council here. This is their, well, I guess last time was Joe's last meeting, this is your last meeting. And of course, all joking aside, you did a really good job taking over the meeting for me last time. I think you've had a really good, 4 years on this council. I know I personally have enjoyed, my time with you, and, we're gonna miss you. Yeah. Well, we're gonna miss Joe too.
it has been my absolute pleasure serving the village and working with all of you.
Yeah.
This will be what, working with all of you will be what I miss.
Oh, that's nice.
And I think it's amazing the number of things you got done in your committee. There's a lot of items that came through your committee, and you addressed them, and you got them in front of council and got them approved and things like that. So I want to applaud all the amount of work
Well
you got
done.
Yeah, well
Yes,
done.
thank you, Avia.
I appreciate it.
And last thing too, on, regarding Mr. Stelzer. Mr. Stelzer really has done yeoman's work on the Murray Path with the pool commission and people, and other things too, but I would say probably those two items are stellar.
And helping to
standout.
sell that street, the paper street.
Oh, the
He
paper
did a lot of
street,
work
yeah.
for
A
helping
lot
sell.
of work on
selling
helping,
that paper
helping
street, so.
to organize some of the behind that paper street. So, Joe, if you're listening, we're gonna miss you, bud. But we'll be in touch. All right. Adjourn.
Thank you.
Go.
Did they really?